every human life of the human entity it goes like a spark of light on the surface of the planet, and it goes. That was it? Yes. On a cosmic scale, this is how you would see a human life. But in that brief spark that arises, something is learned. The one consciousness is undergoing a process of evolution in this dimension. And with each spark, something is learned. And every spark contributes to the growth of consciousness, but no spark has an autonomous existence. It is always connected to the ultimately timeless consciousness, the human consciousness, which is an aspect of the one timeless consciousness. So we are all a spark of the one human consciousness that's evolving. So we are in the middle of this little and then it's gone again, but it doesn't mean anything has been lost in consciousness. Once humanity approaches the end of its evolutionary cycle as separate entities, when it reaches the end, all humans will appear as a single being in the universal consciousness. And this single being, of course, won't have a body. This single being, of course, will not be man or woman. This single being, this single consciousness that has evolved then over a million years, contains the essence identity of all humans that have ever lived. It is basically you. And it will know itself as I, as you. And what its further destiny is, I cannot tell you, but it is connected to the universal consciousness and will contribute and then unite with the universal consciousness. Or before it does that, it may interact with other evolved, highly evolved beings or entities that already exist. And what it does, I have no idea, but I know your destiny is something that you cannot even conceive of through the mind. So this only came to me as an insight, but it's comforting to know that you are actually timeless and you can't die. It's only the temporary appearance of you that disappears. The essence does not. And even and let's not go too far, philosophy. That's coming back to what the practical thing that we need to be concerned with to fulfill our destiny in this lifetime is awakening to who you are and continuing to embody the awakened state so that you can interact with this movie show that is called your life and interact with it, but increasingly not getting entangled in it anymore. And then actually that changes the nature of the movie show too. And it becomes, first of all, more enjoyable because you don't have to demand anymore that something in that movie show should permanently satisfy you. And so when you don't place the demands anymore on those things that continuously arise and pass away around you, you can enjoy them much more. You can enjoy situations as they arise instead of complaining about them because they don't make you completely happy. They don't satisfy you. They were supposed to satisfy me. Well, the situations don't tend to do that. And if they do it for a little while, you get disappointed soon. People, situations, and so on. So the awakened consciousness, see what your relationship is with the movie show of your life, and see how it changes in its nature, becomes less frustrating than it was before, because the frustration of living in this world is making demands upon it that it cannot meet. That's frustrating. Make me happy. How much longer until you make me happy? The egoic self says to the world, to people, to situations, places. I'm looking for a place that's ideal, where I can be happy. And of course, occasionally you may think, oh, yeah, I got it now. And then after you stay there for a little while, you discover, oh, I thought this was ideal. It's not. There's no place that's ideal, or every place is ideal. Another wonderful thing you discover as you no longer live exclusively from the level of your personality, but something else shines through the personality, the unconditioned consciousness. You have noticed it here. I mentioned it at the beginning of the retreat. Normally humans are totally conditioned by their upbringing and the culture they grow up in. And when two people from totally different cultures, or sometimes totally different social backgrounds, or whatever it may be, whatever their conditioning may be, religions sometimes. So people have been conditioned either by the surrounding culture, by the religion they grew up in, the particular family environment, all those things that constitute a person's personality. And usually it's the case when you meet people either from totally different social backgrounds, they just can't communicate. You can even go to certain countries in Europe where still stronger divisions between social classes. Then sometimes when you put the so-called, let's say, well, it's beginning to disappear gradually in England too, but there used to be very strong division of classes in England. There was the upper class who talked in a particular way, same language, but talked in a particular way. And then there was the middle class, and there was the lower classes, and they all had their particular way of speaking. To some extent they still have, but more people are going beyond it now. And so you could tell in England when you met somebody, after they opened their mouths, you would immediately, the mind would go, okay, working class. Or they would go, oh, that's upper class, or trying to be upper class, but it's not really upper class. And nowadays in England, you get the phenomenon of people who are born into a quite privileged family background, wealthy, and so traditionally called upper class. Now, some of them are pretending to be working class. They put on a false working class accent because they have certain ideas about social justice and so on. But it's all a game, and it's division between people. And I mentioned at the beginning here, so many people from different countries have come here. And the strange thing is that you probably found, there may be some exceptions, but as a general rule, there was a connectedness that you felt that transcended any kind of conditioning, national, cultural conditioning, religious conditioning, personal conditioning. So, and I mentioned, you might remember at the beginning of the retreat, normally when two people from totally different cultures meet, it's hard to communicate. A Chinese man meets an American person, a Russian person meets an Italian. What if this? Each person has been conditioned by their own culture, but as the spiritual awakening happens, something else, the unconditioned self being emerges through the conditioning, and you can here meet people from other cultures and feel a strong sense of connectedness and not the division. To the extent that, let's say you are American, you will probably meeting you, and here you, let's say you meet a person from Russia, a person from India, a person from Egypt, you may feel a stronger connectedness with that person than with any American who is still totally conditioned by their culture, in whom this awakening has not happened yet. And that's a very interesting thing, that there's something that unites you that is far deeper than the relatively superficial conditioning of your particular culture. And that is the way forward for humanity. It's not to carry inside the divisions that arise through the conditioning by particular cultures or religions, but to transcend that so that the transcendent you emerges, and then the divisions between human beings disappear. And that is you can experience it, have been able to experience it to some extent here.